This video will further explore why multisectoral coordination is important and include some examples of multisectoral coordination in practice. So why is multisectoral coordination important? Well, multisectoral coordination is important because exposure to risk factors are shaped by social, economic, environmental, commercial, fiscal, and political factors, and many of these may not be related to the health sector, or there may be many actors who influence these factors, for example, non-health sectors and actors. Multisectoral coordination is also important because we want to leverage knowledge and expertise across departments and relevant stakeholders, such as civil society, private sector, academia, and others. So while addressing NCDs is primarily the responsibility of the Ministry of Health, we also know that policies created by other government departments may act on NCDs. For example, trade and investment policies can increase the availability and consumption of tobacco, alcohol, and unhealthy foods. Environmental policies may impact levels of air pollution. Transport policies may decrease or increase levels of physical activity, while defending NCD litigation requires involvement of the Justice or Attorney General Department. For example, it's often a better approach to engage the Department of Justice or Attorney General and maybe the Department of Trade and Foreign Affairs at the start of the policy-making process so that they can foresee any potential legal challenges and create robust legal measures if a legal challenge was to be raised in the future. The McCabe Center for Law and Cancer released a report in 2020 on multisectoral coordination to address NCDs through law in its capacity as a WHO collaborating center for law and NCDs. The report contains good practices on multisectoral coordination for addressing NCDs through policy and legal measures. Although these practices are likely to apply across different regions, they may not be appropriate for every country context. So it's really important to consider the individual circumstances of your country when collaborating multisectorally on NCD policies and their implementation. The report covers the key considerations of multisectoral coordination, and this includes how multisectoral coordination bodies are established, who has responsibility for the multisectoral coordination body, who is involved in the multisectoral coordination body, who shouldn't be involved in the multisectoral coordination body, and the role of multisectoral coordination in developing, implementing, and enforcing NCD legislation. I really encourage you to read the report and to think about how these practices may apply in your country to address NCDs. We found various case studies included in the Multisectoral Coordination publication, which show that it's important to include a wide range of relevant government sectors and stakeholders in any multisectoral coordinating body. But who to include will really depend on the country context. So for example, in some countries, it may be important to include lots of government agencies and different ministries, such as the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Industry, and others. In other countries, it might be more important or beneficial to include less government entities, because the multisectoral coordinating body may become too large, making progress too difficult, and there may only be a couple of relevant government departments that are important to NCD prevention and control. Secondly, who is not included is just as important as who is included. For example, Article 5.3 of the WHO FCTC and its guidelines recognise that the tobacco industry should not be included in developing tobacco control policies. However, there may be reasons to include the tobacco industry later in the implementation of tobacco control measures to ensure that measures can be effectively implemented. Similar considerations apply to other risk factors, such as alcohol or unhealthy food industries. Thirdly, high-level leadership is crucial. And there are many different reasons for this. We haven't really touched on this in detail, but in general, it's recognized that if a multisectoral coordination body has buy-in from high-level leaders, this can help to raise the profile of the work, but also to ensure a sense of urgency and importance. However, at the same time, it can be important to ensure that the body is not affected significantly every time you have an election. So it's important to have some consistency also. Finally, law can play a very important role. And I really want to stress that there's no one right way to facilitate multisectoral coordination. What works in one country might not work in another. In some countries, multisectoral coordination bodies or mechanisms are established by legislation or regulation, which might also outline the members, functions, and other details of the body. However, a number of other countries have successfully established multisectoral bodies through national action plans on NCDs, which are not legally binding, or through other mechanisms. So what works in your country is what is really important, not necessarily how the body was established. However, including lawyers in NCD prevention and in multisectoral coordinating bodies and mechanisms is really important. I'd like to share some examples of how countries have created multisectoral coordination bodies and how they have used multisectoral action to progress NCD measures. In January 2019, amendments were passed to the Tobacco Control Act of 2008 of Samoa, establishing a multisectoral National Tobacco Control Committee. The committee includes representatives from health, finance, education, sports and culture, women, community and social development, police service, customs division of the Ministry for Revenue, Association of Sports and National Olympic Committee, the Samoa Cancer Society, as well as a National Youth Council representative. While Vietnam has used multisectoral coordination and partnerships to pass its first comprehensive alcohol control law in 2019. The law on the prevention of alcohol harms was passed in June of that year. Vietnam has experienced increased levels of alcohol use in recent years, including alarming rates of alcohol consumption among youth. Alongside this, high level of alcohol consumption has seen a rapid rise in NCDs and social burdens associated with alcohol consumption, such as road traffic injury and domestic violence. Recognizing the need for effective multisectoral coordination in implementing alcohol policies or integrating alcohol into other policies, such as drugs, mental health, and NCDs, the Ministry of Health organised a technical workshop in 2018 to seek comments on a draft alcohol law with the support of the WHO Representative Office in Vietnam. 70 participants from various ministries such as health, justice, culture, trade and industry, planning and investment, and transport, and other related government officers participated in the workshop, providing input that focused on regulation of alcohol availability, advertising, and drink driving control. Coordination with different sectors and stakeholders helped shape and pass the law while ensuring policy coherence across government bodies. Bangladesh released its Multisectoral Action Plan for Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Diseases 2018 to 2025 in May 2018. The plan was developed with the World Health Organization Bangladesh Country Office and outlines the multisectoral coordination mechanisms required to give effect to the action plan. This includes the establishment of a national multisectoral NCD coordination committee, which is required to be chaired by the health minister. However, its members include representatives from various ministries such as the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Education, Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Food, and the list goes on, as well as opinion leaders, civil society, religious leaders, academia, research institutes, NGOs, and others. The plan also covers the establishment of the focal point for NCDs in partner ministries and implementing agencies, funding for multisectoral coordination on NCDs, and multisectoral collaboration accountability indicators. These indicators include having a functioning multisectoral NCD coordination committees at national, divisional, and district levels, the number of agencies attending the multisectoral meetings, and policy decisions taken by multisectoral NCD coordination committees and other sub-level committees. In preparation for the development of the plan, sensitization of stakeholder ministries was conducted by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare through a series of workshops on the relevance of NCD interventions for different sectors. The National Multisectoral Strategy and Costed Action Plan for Non-Communicable Disease Prevention and Control in the Gambia is a 5-year roadmap of how the Gambia will address the NCD burden in its country from May 2022 to April 2027. The strategy is aligned with the Gambia's NCD policy 2021 to 2030. And the overarching goal of the plan is to reduce premature deaths from NCDs in the Gambia by 1/3 by 2027. One of the guiding principles of the strategy is taking a multisectoral approach, which requires mechanisms to ensure coordinated and multisectoral action for health within government and by non-government actors. The action plan also contains 6 strategic objectives, including Objective 2, to strengthen national NCD capacity, leadership, governance, multisectoral action, and partnerships to accelerate the country response for the prevention and control of NCDs. And to improve coordination and governance for NCD prevention and control, there are 2 strategic actions under Objective 2. And these are to establish a multisectoral steering committee on NCD prevention and control, chaired by the Office of the President, and to establish a multisectoral technical working group for NCD prevention and control.